So when I first started my freight broker business, one of my greatest challenges was to get shippers to work with me, getting new business. And you might say to yourself, why would that be a problem? With all of the shippers that are in the nation that need to get loads moved from point A to point B, and with there being a shortage of trucks, why would it be a problem for someone who's offering shippers trucks to get their load moved from point A to point B? Why would there be a problem with that? Why wouldn't they be jumping at an opportunity to work with a broker that's offering trucks? Well, that makes sense. That's a logical thought to have in your mind. But here's the reality. That shipper's never worked with you before. He doesn't know that you can deliver on what you say that you can deliver on. So now you have a job to do. You have to convince that shipper that you can do what you say that you can do. And oftentimes what we rely on is cold calling, just picking up the phone and calling shippers and offering trucks or offering our assistance so that we can work with a shipper eventually. But what we have to understand is that cold calling is just one way of contacting shippers. And in my experience, cold calling is not the way that you're going to get the best results. So in today's video, I'm discussing my processes of how I go after and acquire customers. So stay tuned. So before we get started, if this is your first time here, my channel shares the challenges and successes of small business ownership through my eyes as a freight broker. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, or perhaps you're considering another small business, but you want to know what it's really like to be a 24/7 entrepreneur, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to my channel for weekly videos released on Mondays about overcoming the challenges of a freight broker business and winning as small business owners. I believe in starting small and eventually growing big. If you like the content on my channel, please smash that like button, share the video with your network, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to be notified when we release new videos. So let's take a look at cold calling. I want you to think for a minute, you're sitting down relaxing and suddenly your phone rings and it's a telemarketer. Well, one or two things are gonna happen. Either you're gonna answer the phone and usually you're gonna move that person to the end of that call as quickly as possible, or you're not gonna take the call. So that's how you kind of have to look at yourself calling a shipper. Shippers are busy doing whatever it is that they're doing throughout their day. And here it is, they're receiving calls that they are not aware that's coming in. They haven't, scheduled a time to talk with you. That's just a call that interrupts their day. And when that call comes in, they're gonna do one of those two things. They're gonna either answer the phone and move you to a quick conclusion, or they're gonna say, hey, I'm not gonna answer that call. And a lot of times as freight brokers, especially new freight brokers, we can get discouraged by that. We can say, oh man, they must not want to do business with me, or they maybe, they don't need my service. Well, that's not necessarily the case. What you have to figure out is, how do you get the shipper's attention? Because many of them are already working with freight brokers. So my job is to figure out, how do I get them to work with my brokerage? How do I get them to take a chance on building a new relationship? Well, as a salesperson, my job is to convince people to do what they already should do. I'm not trying to convince them to take a chance on something that they shouldn't be doing. So cold calling is an option that most of us run to because we don't know anything else. Let's take a look at a different option that renders better results. So back in 2015, when I first got started in my freight broker business, one of the things that I realized early on was I had to have different methods of contacting customers. You see, it took me 2 months to move my first load. That was in part to being new, but the other part of it was I was only using one method of contacting customers, and that was cold calling. So I had to figure out a different method, and what I came up with was emailing my customers, and not just sending them an email saying, hey, this is Brandon with Alliance Logistics, would like an opportunity to move some freight with you. Not something like that, but an email that would showcase my ability to move freight and solve problems. So you may be saying to yourself, Brandon, how did you express in email that you could pick up loads and solve customers' problems? How did you show competence within an email? Well, that's pretty simple. You see, I had started working with the customer already. And out of 10 of those loads that I moved, 6 of those loads, I would have some type of problem that I would have to solve. So here's an example. I had a contract to move a load from North Carolina to Atlanta on a weekly basis. And I would encounter regular problems that you would encounter with a load moving that regularly. So what I decided to do was to say, hey, I'm gonna capture this experience in writing so that I can remember it. I'll know what to do when I have these issues moving forward. So what I would do is say, okay, just write down, this is what happened. This is how I responded. This is what the shipper said. So then what I decided to do is to say, okay, now I have all of this stuff in writing about the different issues that I've been taking care of on this load. Now what I want to do is to take each issue and put it in a little bit of a story format. Not something that's going to be long and drawn out. Just a quick story that paints the picture to the shipper of what took place during the load movement, the solution that we implemented to overcome the issue, and then what were the results of that solution. The shipper can identify with this, and now I'm starting to develop some rapport because I've identified some things in this email that the shipper is very familiar with. So now he's more likely to want to hear what I have to say than he would have been if I just had picked up the phone and called him. So this was a quick explanation about a part of my customer acquisition process. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be having my usual Super Tuesday business meeting. This meeting is usually reserved for people that are within our training program, but tomorrow, this is a special occasion, so we're going to open it to our entire network. So in order for you to take advantage of this training, the only thing that you have to do is 3 simple things. Number 1, subscribe to the channel. Number 2, like the video. And number 3, comment yes in the comment sections. I want to say that once again. Number 1, subscribe to the video. Number 2, like the video. And number 3, say yes in the comments. Once you do that, I'll go ahead and send you out a link. That way you'll be able to go to that link and register and be ready for tomorrow's webinar at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Certainly looking forward to seeing you there to share some information with you that I think will help you move your business from where you are right now to where you want to go. Now, I don't want you to get confused. There are a lot of people out here in the social media world that talk about how freight brokers move loads and make money. But there's one guy that's walking the walk, talking the talk, and showing you how it's done. That's me. So if you want an up close and personal experience, you want a co-pilot as I pilot this plane and show you how this thing is done, then you're in the right place. Go to my website at www.brandonthefreightbroker.com, sign up for my 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. You'll get the unique opportunity of watching over my shoulder as I set up loads to be moved, talk to shippers and carriers about negotiating load movement, show you all of the paperwork that's required to move a load from point A to point B, and then finally execute the movement and getting paid. I hope this information has been helpful. Wish you the best in all that you endeavor to do. See you at the top because the bottom is much too crowded.